And welcome to our community. Susie Thomas here with you this morning. Very special guests. We are welcoming Sherry Cornett and iconic original dog Ernest Biner this morning to our community. Good morning to both of you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I think what folks might be amazed to think of is that the year 2016, we are looking at the 30th anniversary of that awesome 1986 Browns team, the original Dogs. Ernest, you were a member of that team. We think of almost say in one word, Mac and Biner, Biner and Mac. You guys were quite the pair. Talk about those years, your memories of those years.
Well, I decided to do all of my work the first half of the season. I had about 54, 55 catches within the first 7 games and actually got injured and was out until the playoffs. So it was, that year, but the year before when Kevin and I rushed for 1,000 yards were very exciting. We were in the playoffs each year. 80, 85, 86, 87, 88, 89. Those years were where the original Dogs kind of got built. And Marty Schottheimer did an excellent job in developing us. He gave us the good basics that we needed for growth and actually for life. So it was a blessing being able to challenge each other, put each other to the test, and also hold each other accountable. And more than anything else was really be able to develop a love and a caring that can last and will last a lifetime.
You wonder, because you see a team working together and you do kind of wonder, wow, what are they like behind the scenes? Are they really this good of friends? Do they work in concert with each other? Where do they stand with their faith as far as, having fellowship among each other? Can you give us a behind-the-scenes look at that kind of thing going on?
Well, absolutely. One of the things that we did to develop our team is we hung out quite a bit with each other. We had a Thursday night at event that happened every week, and most of the guys came to Fridays in Great Northern Mall on Thursday night. That was one of the nights we kind of unwound a little bit after, because Wednesday and Thursdays were our hard working days. Friday was a little bit less intense physically, so we went out on Thursday night because we knew we couldn't go out on Friday night. So that part was a way of team building, but also getting to know each other in such a way that it wasn't on the football field, but it paid dividends on the football field because we developed a way of actually speaking to each other and feeling each other. And there was an unspoken language that was communicated and was very effective sometimes when we were out on the actual playing field.
Mm-hmm. You won your Super Bowl ring playing for another team. How weird is it then for you to play against old players, old teammates?
Well, it was just fitness, though. I could say that. It did feel different when I came back. When I came back to Cleveland the very first year to play against the Browns, I used all of the energy that was associated with that, with the unknown to actually being in unfamiliar territories, even though I was at a place where I had played for 5 years. When I came back, it felt different because I was in the visitors' locker room. And that visitors' locker room was as bad as everybody said it was. Coming back and playing against the guys, it was different. But, in reality, I had already played against them because I practiced, our practices were more like games than a lot of practices are today. So I actually had already scrimmaged against them at gun full speed, had fights against them, but also had a level of respect, for the guys and what they could do. So it was a bit of a process, a little bit different, but the opportunity to compete was always there. and I love that, and I love to compete.
Mhm. So much of what you're talking about, so much of athletics in general is mental and getting your mind in a certain place and ready and preparation. But so much of that also applies to just life.
Yes.
Where do you draw what you've learned in football and throughout your football career into now life?
But it's all the same to me. I mean, to live, to play at a high level, and to also live at a high level takes mental development. It takes developing of the mind on a continual basis. It takes development on a continual basis on any level, to tell you the truth. So, being able to continue to teach, continue to hold first and foremost, hold myself accountable, to love myself enough to do the right things most of the time. We look, I tried to be perfect as a football player. Perfection sought, progress accepted. I still live that way today. I still teach the same way, even to the players and people that I life coach with. When I get a chance to go out and speak, I'm constantly trying to develop myself, but also develop the people that I'm speaking to. So when we look at the development process, I know that I need to develop and look for people to hold me accountable, just like I would ask the people that I speak to, teach to, tweet to, Facebook to. All of those aspects are the same for me. It has meshed from football to actually being on the field to coaching on the field, now to coaching in life.
Mm-hmm. We are honored to have with us this morning Ernest Biner and Sherry Cornett. We're going to bring Sherry in a minute. Some big goings-on this weekend as the Browns from 1986 are going to be honored Sunday at the October 30th game at First Energy Stadium. We've also got some exciting news of something happening at our Football Hall of Fame here in Canton. And then Friday night, tomorrow night, up in Cleveland, big event. So stay with us. We're going to be talking about all of these. Ernest, you are featured so prominently in the movie Believe Land. Anybody who's memorized all the things from Cleveland, you're getting to be one of those. Although I've got to say, go to the videotape. I know it's been named the fumble, but if you look at that, it's the stripped ball, and I will stand by that for the rest of my life. It was the stripped ball, but it's been nicknamed the fumble. Talk about your memory, first of all. Let us be inside your skin as that was happening. How do you remember that?
Well, the thing that really stands out to me is how we had battled so much to try to get back into the game, and going through, living through that particular moment is something that I would not wish on anyone. But the thing that I really try to use that is a great teaching tool. I think the fumble really helped me to have more empathy for other people. I think when I went into that particular game, I had a confidence that that bordered on arrogance because I knew that I was going to play well. I just played well the week before, had a great week of practice. I was into one of those things people call the zone, and being able to play at that level and have that freedom and have the command of the game was something that I just felt. And when the fumble came about, because, we had gotten down 21-3 at the half and then was able to battle our way back to where we were going to tie the game if I would have scored. When that particular play happened, first of all, I was dead tired. I mean, you're talking about being exhausted. I mean, I had played most of the game at a high level, and then that particular drive, we were kind of in a 2-minute mode, so we were running play after play after play. And Joni, when I got tired, that's some of the stuff that happens when people, push themselves to past that particular level, sometimes things happen that you don't want to happen, and the fumble was one of those things. Or the strip, as we can call it, the strip as well. That's correct.
Same thing.
So, being able to go through that process, being able to learn from it, but also the next thing I was able to do was to be able to teach from it.
Yes.
And that's where my book came about, called Everybody Fumbles. Because everybody does make mistakes. It's an analogy. Everybody makes mistakes. Everybody goes through a process. Okay, but what do you do after the process? I think one of the things that we have an obligation to do is to teach after we have gone through the experience, we have learned from it, we have grown from it. Then I think we're obligated to teach from it. So that's where Everybody Fumbles comes from. And, if I hadn't gone through that process, the book would not have been written.
Isn't that
and
something?
I would not have been and become the man that I have become based on the other experiences.
Doesn't that happen so often? We go through something you really would rather not have had to go through. But what God can turn that around and use in other people's life. Your message in the book, Everybody Fumbles, talk about some of the impact that is having on people.
Well, it's I think the Believe Land thing really kind of opened the door to a different level spiritually for me, but also for a lot of people in the city of Cleveland. I think a lot of people around the country see Cleveland in a different light. I think it opened some type of spiritual vortex that really allowed a whole bunch of healing to happen. And part of the book and part of what is in Everybody Fumbles is really about healing, but healing from the inside. One of the things that we'll get to, with the original dogs is the healing dogs. And, part of that is healing from the inside, teaching people to love themselves first and foremost enough to have that awareness that healing is a process. It starts first and foremost with the individual. So, being able to put the book out and then also be able to go out and speak to people and share the experiences has really been a blessing for me individually, but I think it has been also for a lot of people who are open to just love themselves in a different way.
Mm-hmm. Let's point out that Ernest is available to speak to schools, teams, college, high school kids. Do you find that this message is really hitting a chord with them, Ernest?
Absolutely. I believe that one of the things that really happens is when I go to speak to different teams or schools or events, that there's something that happens. When they hear from me that about the process that I've gone through. So it has been a gift. Definitely a gift from God.
Mm-hmm.
And Susie, if I can say, I set up all his engagements, his speaking engagements and events, and I'm an outsider to Cleveland. And that Believe Land documentary did something to that city, and it did something to Ernest. The way he's been giving speeches, in fact, you speak of high schools, he'll be speaking at one tomorrow, and they're thrilled he's coming. But one of the things you said is athletics is so mental, and he reaches down to the youth to teach those lessons so naturally. A father reached out. The outpour of love that came from that movie for not only Ernest, but that team, it just showed the level of respect that Cleveland had for that team. There was guys saying, I played Mac and my big brother was Biner in the backyard, and to me that's one of the biggest compliments ever.
Yeah.
But there was specifically a 13-year-old little girl that wrote him the most eloquent letter that he should have been given the day after the fumble. And all the stories I read about him, about getting the team together, and, that's exactly what he's doing now with the original dog.
Yes, yes.
But when you talk about that fumble and the empathy it had, you know how many players have benefited? Those plays are going to happen in a game. They happen in football, and it's happened in recent events. And those guys that are going through that kind of pain that Ernest knew, he's reached out to them and has helped them through that process, the same process he's talking about of, that mental strength.
Mm-hmm. We're speaking with Sherry Cornett and Ernest Beiner. Sherry, tell us we need to take a break here, but before we do, please tell us how can people contact you to be able to schedule Ernest to speak to their kids?
Sure, absolutely. You can, a real easy email is Sherry, SHERRY, at sherrycornett.com.
And Cornett is CORNETT?
That's right.
Perfect. All right, let's take a short break. We'll be back with Sherry Cornett and Ernest Beiner after these words. You're listening to Our Community.